Yeah, alright guys, it's Bulbs and this is week number 11 of the fourth season of the Home Draft League. Today's opponent is Thread with the Tennessee Tirtouga. Now, full disclosure straight off the top, this battle played out like 2 weeks ago, I think now. I've actually played this battle and next week's battle already. I'm just really behind on recordings. Unlike the last video, I'm not going to give the result up off the top. But yeah, so we're going to be going into this. I'm going to be doing obviously post-con for the entire thing. But yeah, I won't reveal or spoil the result or anything. We're just going to jump straight away, take a look at the league standings, and then yeah, show the battle. So yeah, I did actually manage to find a way of restoring previous versions of a Google document. So this is how the league standings looked just before I had my battle against the Tirtouga. Now, I think I've said this before. I'm just going to go straight away over here, just bring up the schedule. With the league standings, I'm 1 win away from qualification. It was the same when I lost 6-0 against the Ballistic and the Golducks, which was really bad. Same thing now. So out of these last 3 battles, all I've got to do is win one of them, and I am guaranteed qualification to the playoffs. Yeah, Tirtouga are opponents this week. Season 1 champions, ridiculously, impossibly tough battler. The battle after that, which again, I know it's kind of annoying, I've already played it, but I'm not going to spoil anything. These guys are currently top of, I say currently, in this version of the document, which is pre this battle, I know it's confusing, they are top of the league. And then Shad, who is Shad, you know. So yeah, out of these last 3 battles, I've just got to win one. So yeah, with that context in mind, the standings here, we are in third. Tirtouga just behind us in fourth. So yeah, this I think actually we're both both teams are 1 win away from playoff qualification here. So it's a huge battle for both of us. And yeah, on that, let's just jump straight away into the teams. So here we are, as ever. I'm just going to very quickly go through my own team. It's unchanged this season. We've got Drakefish, Excadrill, Hippowdon, Politoed, Vileplume, Heliolisk, Houndoom, Ninetales, Skarmory, Blastoise, and the Mega Ordino. My opponent, Thread, and the Tennessee Tirtouga are rocking with Mega Manectric, Celesteela, Seismitoad, Incineroar, Salamence, Galarian Weezing, Ordino, Eldegoss, Frostlass, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, the Water Fighting variant, and the Hooper. Yeah, this team is kind of scary. Obviously, the Mega Manectric outspeeds absolutely everything on my team. Celesteela is absolutely terrifying. The one absolutely massive thing that I always big up in draft format is versatility in Pokemon. Celesteela is really versatile in that regard. It can run like an autotomized sweeping set with like a special attack beast boost. You can run sort of a more bulky set. You can get stuff like Leech Seed for reliable recovery. You can run mix. You can either go physical or special with stuff like Flash Cannon or Heavy Slam. It's also got really good coverage with Flamethrower, stuff like that. It's a really scary Pokemon, and it's really difficult to prep for because that versatility means like I don't know what set to prep for. So that's absolutely terrifying. Seismitoad tears through. I think I said it, was it last week or the week before, when one of my opponents had a Swampert. A physical water ground type absolutely sweeps through most of my core. Like I can't really run bulky stall like I normally do. When there's Pokemon like Seismitoad or Swampert on my opponent's team. I was tempted to bring Rain for this battle. I really was, but like a Swift Swim Seismitoad absolutely destroys my team, so I couldn't even bring the Rain, which was really annoying. Incineroar again, really, like I think I had it in season 2. One of my favorite underrated fire type Pokemon to go with the Fire Water Grass core. Really good stuff with with Intimidate and Parting Shot. You can get your opponent his physical attack halved, and obviously I am a very physically offensive team with Excadrill and Drakefish being my 2 offensive outlets. So Incineroar is really scary for me. Salamence, again, another Intimidator. Really scary. Yeah, Galarian Weezing, I haven't really seen too much in competitive. I'm not really too sure what it brings. Ordino is... I'd say that's quite an underrated Pokemon. It's like... I mean, Mega Ordino does the same thing as Ordino, it's just got a bit extra bulk in the fairy type. But yeah, like I love Mega Ordino so much, so I can't really talk down Ordino because it does the same thing, a little bit worse, but it does the same thing, and that's a really, really good wish passing cleric. Eldegoss, and also Ordino, because it's not Mega, it retains the Regenerator ability. Ordino Eldegoss is a really, really nice low tier, low key Regenerator core. Eldegoss obviously also deals really well with the what's it called, with the Dracovish, my main threat. So I was fully expecting my opponent to bring something like the Eldegoss and maybe the Ordino as well. Pre-battle, when I was predicting what my opponent would bring. Obviously, I now have the hindsight, so you're going to have to take my word for it that I had planned for that. Frostlass, again, absolutely terrifies me. So, yeah, especially offensive ice type with freeze dry does trouble my team a lot. It really, really does. So Frostlass, absolutely terrifying. Urshifu is terrifying under most circumstances. However, I do have Vileplume because both of its stabs. Really, really good bulky Pokemon. So yeah, Urshifu would normally scare me. Doesn't really scare my team this season too much, and Hooper is just there. It's kind of rubbish. Yeah, on that, let's just jump straight away into the team build. So yeah, as I had previously alluded to, we do have the Vileplume. It's the first Pokemon I brought because Urshifu terrifies me if I don't bring this. The moment I bring this Vileplume, that's one of his main offensive threats just completely nullified. Yeah, we've got the Black Sludge, obviously, Effect Spore, kind of makes sense. Synthesis over the Strength Sap, just because, Surging Strikes always gets a critical hit, so I'd rather just go with the Synthesis for the longevity. As you can see here, we've also got the Sun, so Synthesis functions really well in the Sun. We've got Leech Seed, Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain. They do kind of just make sense. The only other move that I tend to bring on a Vileplume is the Aromatherapy, but we do have Peter Rabbit with the Heal Bell. Sludge Bomb, Giga Drain, if we just look back at my opponent's teams, Giga Drain is vital for the Seismitoad, which I've mentioned before, is terrifying. But then if I didn't bring the Sludge Bomb, if I just bought the Giga Drain and the Aromatherapy, then Eldegoss would absolutely shut me down. Like I've said, Eldegoss is a really good counter for the Dracovish, so I'd rather have one of my own walls able to sort of counter one of his walls, if that makes sense. Yeah, just gone fully physically defensive because this thing is, as I've said, mostly there for the Urshifu. Next up, we've got the George Clooney. Yeah, it's not often that I get to bring Sun. I think I've only brought it once before this season, and with only a few games left until the end of the regular season, I do want to try and get some more use out of my various weathers. I've said it many, many times now, I do rely too much on my sand, given that I'm a multi-weather team. So the moment I do get the opportunity to bring a different weather, I will. I did want to bring the rain. My opponent is really, really weak to rain, but also that Seismitoad. If he looks at his team and he sees that he's really weak to the rain, and he predicts that and he counters that by bringing a Swiftwood and Seismitoad, I kind of lose. So I can't risk that. But at the same time, if we look through my opponent's team, he's really fire weak. His only answers to the fire are Seismitoad, which we've got Solar Beam for coverage, and the Urshifu again, Solar Beam for coverage. The other two are Incineroar and Salamence, which can kind of break through the set a little bit. I was tempted to bring the Scorching Sands over the Dark Pulse just to deal with the Incineroar, but if I was to do that, I'd have absolutely no answer to a Salamence, which switches in really easy. The difference between the Incineroar and the Salamence is that even though they both switch in really easily, Incineroar we can just switch out into like a Palitoad or something, that's absolutely fine. If we switch out on the Salamence, that gives them a free turn to set up. So it's more important that I have coverage for the Salamence than the Incineroar. Also, the Dark Pulse has a chance to flinch. Now, when I first made this set, it was a Nasty Plot set. It didn't have the Fire Blast, it was Nasty Plot, Weather Ball, Solar Beam, Dark Pulse. It was literally at the last second, it was about 30 seconds before the match started, I decided to switch out for Choice Specs. Yeah, I just thought the more immediate power threat would have been a little bit more important. Also, Choice Specs on a weather setter. I think it's a really nice move because obviously you expect your opponent to bring, say, like the Heat Rock. Like my opponent would expect me to bring the Heat Rock just to extend the Sun. So if I can catch my opponent off guard with a Choice Specs Weather Ball, that's something dead, right? Or something taking heavy damage. So yeah, I got the choice spec straight. With obviously, if we're bringing the sun, that kind of means that Heliolisk is a must because it's not often that I get to use solar power, which is an incredible ability. Yeah, obviously got Thunderbolt and Volt Switch. Volt Switch is really nice for a Switch initiative. It's not something that I have much of in this team, so when I can bring it, I want to. Thunderbolt, obviously, there. It's a really good stab. Grass Knot is there for the same reason that Solar Beam is on the Ninetales, just to deal with stuff like the Seismitoad, which is otherwise a really safe switch. And Weather Ball, we kind of had like a free move. I just think the idea of using like a 100 base power fire type move on Heliolisk is really fun. There's not too much on my opponent's team that that's useful for, but I had the spare move, you know. Next up, we've got Peter Rabbit. Very, very generic Peter Rabbit. Dazzling Gleam, Wish Protect, Heal Bell. Would have been nice to bring like a Toxic, but with the lack of aromatherapy on the Vileplume, Heal Bell was absolutely important. Yeah, got the 4 EVs in speed, just so we can outspeed my opponent's Ordno in case we end up one-on-one. Not that that's ever really going to happen or ever really going to be a desirable matchup, because it's just going to be a lot of stalling, a lot of dazzling gleaming and hyper voicing and wishing, and yeah, it's not going to be a desirable matchup. But just in case it does come in useful, I do want to have the 4 EVs out there just to outspeed the Ordno. Yeah, next up we've got the Hippolytoad, obviously not bringing the sand. I'm also kind of hoping that I can catch my opponent off guard. If he sees a Hippowdon and knows my over-reliance on sand, maybe he, even in when Team Preview comes up, maybe he'll sort of ignore the Ninetales, assume that I'm bringing sand, and plan his strategy accordingly. But yeah, obviously Hippowdon, if we just look through my opponent's team, it's there to deal with the Incineroar, it's there to deal with the Salamence. Yeah, those are kind of the only things. Also, I wanted a Pokemon to have Toxic with, because I don't have Toxic on the Mega Ordino. Earthquake's obviously there for General Stab. Slack Off is there for a reliable recovery, and the Whirlwind. It's mainly there for the Celesteela. Like, if that Celesteela starts setting up, if it gets its Autotomize and its special attack boost from Beast Boost and whatever, I want a way to phase out my opponent's team. Also, if we remember my battle from the week before against Ballistic, I just got swept by, oh, what was it now? I can't even think, it was that long ago. Something set up on me. It wasn't the Hariyama, because I dealt with that somehow. It was the Mew. Was it the Mew? I think it was the Mew. Yeah, if I would have brought Whirlwind on either Hippolytoad or Skarmory, I would have been a lot better in that battle. So I think this Whirlwind choice was more sort of reactive to that battle as opposed to anything strategically for this battle. But you can understand why I brought it. It does mean we don't have the Stealth Rock on this set, but you know, I think Whirlwind is kind of more important in this case. Fully defensive EVs kind of makes sense. Next up, we've got Skarmory. Because we don't have the Stealth Rocks on Hippowdon, I do want to get Stealth Rocks up on the Skarmory. Stealth Rocks plus the Choice Specs Weather Ball from Ninetales is really, really going to put a big old dent in my opponent's team. Defog just obviously makes sense. Roost and Drill Peck. This set doesn't really need explaining. Yeah, gone fully physically defensive. I think this is one of those, if I remember correctly, it's one of those nice times that I've had a few times in this season now, where I've got my opponent pretty much checked from these first 5. So I kind of had one free slot. Tempted to bring the Houndoom to make the most of the sun. And I was tempted to maybe bring like a Drakefish or something, Utility Umbrella Drakefish, just because it is really, really fun to bring every week. Also, maybe an Excadrill for the Rapid Spin for the hazard removal. But yeah, I just figured Skarmory. Like I said, this battle was a couple of weeks ago. I don't really remember too much about my thought process. I just remember that I had a free slot, so I just stuck it in there. Anyway, let's jump straight into the post-com for this battle. Okay, so before we start this, I do want to say this is a really long battle. Like, even to post-com it will take a while, so I'm going to try not to do a turn-by-turn analysis, otherwise I'll be here forever. But I'll sort of obviously highlight the significant plays and just let the rest of the battle play out. Granted, I'm saying that, I'm such a waffler, I'll probably end up doing turn-by-turn, it'll be a 3-hour long video, but also, yeah, like I said, this battle was a couple of weeks ago, so it's a little bit hazy. I'm not going to remember everything. I'll make a couple of mistakes, but I do want to say this is and this isn't to spoil the result, because I would say this whether I win or whether I won or whether I lost. This is a really good battle. It's a really good battle from a neutral perspective. So Yeah, enjoy. So going into the team preview, the Eldegoss Ordino core, which I kind of predicted is there. Seismitoad is absolutely terrifying. Salamence is scary. Like this team, Celesteed is obviously there as well. The Urshifu, like I said before, I can manage it. Urshifu doesn't worry me. The other five absolutely terrify me. Something that I am really happy not to see though is the Incineroar. Um, Even though the intimidate parting shot shenanigans don't really worry me too much because I don't have much of a physically offensive presence. Incineroar was a really good switch into the Choice Specs Ninetales. So yeah, looking at this, even the Salamence is taking like 50 to 60% from a Choice Specs Weather Ball or something. The only thing that can eat up the Ninetales hits quite well is the Ordino. Um, and obviously the Urshifu, Seismitoad, they resist, but we've got the Solar Beam, so if we can work around that, then we'll be doing quite well. So yeah, let's get into the battle. I lead off with a Heliolisk. It's good for obviously Volt Switch initiative, saying that I do just switch straight out to the Paladon. I think I predicted the Seismitoad here. And then I obviously brought in the Volplume because my opponent had a Seismitoad out. He goes into the Celesteela. I kind of stay in just so I can scout out this set a little bit. From the flamethrower there, I'm pretty sure it's got no special attack investment, so it's a little bit less scary for me. And I know that on the I know the flamethrower is doing 49%. It's unlucky that you got the burn. Obviously, you've got the heal bell and the ordinary, so that's fine. We know from the damage calculation, from the damage that this flamethrower is doing, it's only doing 49%. So long as Vileplume is at full HP, it is a decent Celesteela check. He brings out the Eldegoss, we go for Sludge Bomb, which is kind of annoying that we revealed that because he does predict that and go straight back out into the Celesteela. But yeah, we know when Volplume's at health, we can deal with this thing quite well. He goes for the Flamethrower. I think, do I get another Leech Seed off? And I just know that I can Synthesis up. I can already tell this early in the battle, maybe it's just because of how I play, it's going to be a long battle. I always have long battles, I'm always really conscious about PP. So Volplume, it's already used 2 synthesis, it's only got 6 left. So deals a really nice Celesteela counter, but only when I've got PP, so I've got to be quite conscious about that. Yeah, he brings out the Ordino, I bring out the Ninetales. I didn't want to be knocked off, because obviously if I lose my choice specs, that's absolutely huge. So I do go out into the Skarmory here. He reveals block on the Celesteela, which is really scary. But yeah, this is the matchup that I really want, is the Ninetales versus Celesteela matchup. You'll see it a few times, and I'll say this a few times every time it comes up. I spend a good portion of this battle trying to manufacture a situation in which my opponent has to bring out the Celesteela, and so that I can predict that and bring out the Ninetales. So the moment I have Ninetales in against Celesteela, I'm happy because I can just hit Weather Ball. He'll either stay in and die, or he'll switch out, and even if it's a resisted hit, he'll still take heavy damage on a Pokemon. So, I think, actually, no, we go for the Fire Blast here, I believe. I just thought, the first time we got Ninetales out, I want to go for heavy damage. Now, the Ordino here reveals that it's specially defensive. Fire Blast does a lot less than I wanted it to, and with Regenerator, this Ordino is suddenly a huge, not so much a threat, like obviously it doesn't have much of an offensive presence, but in terms of blocking me winning, yeah, this thing's a threat. Because obviously he can just switch out. I'm assuming he's going to be Wish Protect, so if he's got Protect, he can stall out my PP, especially on the Fire Blast. Yeah, so this thing is really scary. He goes for the Protect there. I fall for the trap. I go for the Fire Blast. I lose another Fire Blast PP. He goes into the Seismitoad, and just look at the damage output on this. I mean, yeah, 32%. To be fair, saying that, I said that like I was big enough the damage output. That actually did a lot less than I remember it doing. Yeah, no, sorry, yeah. The damage calcs had said that it was going to do like 50 to 60% or something like that, like something bonkers. It actually only does 32, so he is some kind of specially defensive, which is really annoying for me. Obviously, we've got the Solar Beam, but we're choiced into Fire Blast at the moment, so I think I'll take this opportunity to switch out into the Vileplume. He knocks off my Black Sludge, that's kind of fine. Do I go for the Giga Drain here or the Leech Seed? The Leech Seed there. Either way, the Eldegoss comes in. He goes for the Rapid Spin, and I think I just Synthesis up here because I know that I need to be up at health if the Celesteela does come in. yeah, Eldegoss with Rapid Spin. It's a really, really good underused Rapid Spinner. Anyway, here we go again. Turn 2. Sorry, the second version of Ninetales against Celesteela. He switches out into the Ordino. I predict the Protect. No, like I said, I know the PP is going to be a huge factor in this, so I take this opportunity to go out into the Heliolisk. Probably should have gone for the Volt Switch there, but I go for the Thunderbolt. I think when I calced it up against the Ordinary, I think Volt Switch might have been doing like 20% or something, so it was a roll on whether it would KO at that range, whereas the Thunderbolt did KO. I think that's why I did that. I get the Paralysis on the Eldegoss. That was quite fortunate. But then, like, my opponent got a Flamethrower burn on the Vileplume. Now, the Paralysis is probably a little bit more of an advantage to me than the burn was an advantage to my opponent, but I don't think that that's particularly unlucky on my part, just because it's like an equal chance of getting the Thunderbolt Paralysis. It is getting the Flamethrower burn. Anyway, I just paused this because I wanted to bring attention to this Eldegoss set. It's Cotton Down, it's not Regenerator. Now, that might seem crazy, but obviously a physically defensive Cotton Down grass-type Pokemon. This thing is an incredible Dracovish counter. It's a really, really well thought out, brilliant Dracovish counter. It's almost unfortunate for my opponent that I didn't bring the Dracovish, but I just wanted to point that out because props to my opponent. I love this set. Anyway, yeah, he brings out the Ordinary. I think I go for the Weather Ball here. Yeah. Just because obviously it would have KO'd the Eldegoss. He goes for the Protectors, I go for the Volt Switch, and then I think he switches out into the Seismitoad here on my Volt Switch. Probably could have predicted that and gone for a Grass Knot, but it was kind of an obvious Grass Knot at that point. But I do reveal the Grass Knot here. That was a really, really good set of turns for my opponent because I've just revealed my entire set to him. And he predicted each and every move. He predicted each and every move. He switched really, really well. And on that, he knows my entire set on that Heliolisk. So, yeah, I mean, I know that stuff like the Grass Knot is obvious to have on my Heliolisk, especially with the Water Ground Pokemon on my opponent's team. But, yeah, I full kudos to my opponent for that set of the last 5 turns in which he managed to figure out my entire set. Really, really rate that. Anyway, Ordino comes in. I go for the Ninetales here. I kind of predicted either a Wish or a Protect on that. I think I go for the Skarmory here just because, again, I am scared of the knockoff. I'm also kind of scared, like, bringing in Ninetales forces a lot of pressure on my opponent to either switch out or whatever. But also, I don't want to bring Ninetales out too much because, as I've already said, it's going to be a big old PP stall in this battle. I can already tell, and so I want to get my opponent. I want to get my Ninetales in as much as possible because it puts a lot of pressure on my opponent. But at the same time, I need to try and conserve PP. So there's going to be a few turns in which I bring my Ninetales in, just switch it straight back out. This is not one of those times. This is a matchup which, again, is really, really favourable for me. Much like with the bringing Ninetales in on the Celesteela, I also really want to bring my Ninetales in on the Eldegoss wherever possible. Yeah, so I know that this this postcom is a little bit all over the place. I just don't want to do a play-by-play because, like I said, I'll be here for hours. Anyway, this is another turn in which I sort of manufactured the situation in which my opponent brings out the Celesteela and I can get a free switch into the Ninetales. I think this is the first time that Ninetales has taken damage, but I can see that the Flamethrower is only doing 18%. So I'm assuming at this point my opponent's got a Flamethrower block, maybe a Leech Seed and a Heavy Slam. Either way, Ninetales is always going to be a safe switch into the Celesteela. However, I do lose a Sun, so I don't really want to stay in. Go out for the Hippolytoad. I think I'll go for the Toxic here. Do I? Yeah, I'll go for the Toxic. Yeah, my opponent, my Ordino, my opponent's Ordino has already revealed its full form moves. It doesn't have the Heal Bell. So Ordino, like I've said, is going to be a massive, massive, massive hindrance for me. The moment I can get Toxic off on it, I can then still begin to stall it out and stuff. So getting Toxic off on the Ordino is my next priority, and unfortunately my opponent did predict that. It brings out the Eldegoss, obviously already paralysed, so nothing happens there. Going to the Ninetales though, that's nice. My opponent, I think he must have been going for the Rapid Spin there. He did get the full paralysis. It's unlucky, but you know, it's whatever. I think I go for the Fire Blast or a Weather Ball here just to get damage off. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I probably should switch out and conserve PP, but I don't. Yeah, it's all about just keeping up the pressure on my opponent. Brings out the Seismitoad, go for another Weather Ball, and at this point, another Weather Ball will KO. So again, just happy to just stay in, keep hitting the Weather Ball. At that point, I think it might have been a roll actually on the order. Now, I can't remember. I remember feeling slightly aggrieved at that turn in particular. So I feel like it might have been a roll in my opponent's favour, I will say. But I think that was a roll. However, I nearly took out the Ordino. And yeah, obviously I'll protect conscious PP, so I switch out. I think I just go for a Volt Switch here, do I? Yeah, because a Volt Switch would have KO'd the Ordino at that range. I can just bring in the Ninetales again, just keep hitting the... is it Fire Blast or Weather Ball? Weather Ball here. He stays in with the Eldegoss. You can understand it, you know, no Pokemon really wants to switch into that Weather Ball. And the Eldegoss is only really there as a Dracovish counter, so it's kind of useless, so you can understand why he sacked it off. It does mean that these rocks are here to stay, though, which is really nice. Got the Searchview out now. The moment it revealed the Substitute, I was kind of concerned, because I was thinking, what's the move? Bulk Up. A Bulk Up set would be kind of upsetting. I can kind of deal with it. With the Hippowlatoad, with a Whirlwind, obviously he does have Surging Strikes, but in the Sun that's going to be doing half damage, so Hippowlatoad can kind of face up against this thing if it is the bulk up. But yeah, after they substitute, you just reveal the Ice Punch, so he's not any kind of setup, which is really nice. Ice Punch is only doing 38% to the Vileplume, so even when this thing's got super effective coverage, Vileplume deals with it really well. Urshifu is not scary at all. Do I just go for the Giga Drain here? It's a bit of an obvious play. But I did have an Urshifu in on me, and I just wanted to take advantage of that fact. So I kind of misplay here because I do let my opponent get back up to health with the Ordino, which means that it is one more safe switch into a Ninetales. My opponent brings out the Celesteela, go for a Sludge Bomb. I think at that point I went for the Sludge Bomb on the Ordino just because I wanted to give my I wanted to try and get the toxic off, or not the toxic, the poison off on that Ordino in some way. Yeah, again we've got another case in which Celesteela's in, so we bring out the Ninetales. Flamethrower's not doing too much; it's only doing 18%. So at this range, actually, if I have to Leech Seed, I've still got like 3 or 4. I think at 3 is that 3 switches. Well, 3. Switches into the Ninetales on that Celesteela. And yeah, again, Ninetales is in. He goes out into the Ordino. I'll go for the Weather Ball. I get a crit, which leaves it on 1%. Obviously, that crit was really, really lucky. Yeah, we had a chance to KO the Ordino, and it lived on 1%. If that Ordino dies there, I win. However, he does bring out the Seismitoad. And, I mean, yeah, the crit was obviously lucky, and it was obviously... gave me a massive advantage because it did mean that my opponent had to switch out the Ordino and go out into the Seismitoad, lose the Seismitoad. So the crit on the Ordino did kind of cost my opponent the Seismitoad. However, I still think that without the crit, my opponent would have had to have swapped out the Ordino for something. Because I don't think he was living under the Weather Ball. Maybe he goes for the Protect. But I think all this did is speed up how quickly the Seismitoad got sacked off, but I don't think that the crit mattered too much because I think that Seismitoad was being sacked off either way. It might have just been a few turns in the future. Anyway, Ordino's out, so I bring out Mega Ordino. I hate this matchup of the Ordino versus Mega Ordino because neither of us can take out the other. It's just a nice opportunity to put a bit of a stop in the battle and just get a bit of a Wish Pass sent off onto something that needs it. Obviously, the Ninetales would have been a bit more beneficial for it, but the moment that Choice Specs gets knocked off on the Ninetales, I have a lot less viability in this match. So, yeah, the Expert Belt on the Heliolisk is a lot less key, so I think that was why I switched in the Heliolisk on the Wish instead. Leech Seed misses, that's, you know, it happens sometimes, but it does mean that Vileplume is no longer a safe one-on-one matchup against the Celesteela, so I do go into the George Clooney on the Fire Blast, or on the Flamethrower, sorry. Yeah, just again, Ninetales in on Celesteela, and we hit And we hit the weather ball. Right. Yeah, just doing a bit of a nice switch in here. Get a Volt Switch off. Probably could have gone for the Thunderbolt for extra damage, but if my opponent brings in... To be fair, looking at my opponent's team, actually, I probably should have gone for the Thunderbolt there because there's not much that my opponent can bring in on it. That was probably a bit of a misplay on my part. Anyway, he'll be able to get rid of the Toxic on the Heliolisk because we might as well. While we've got Mega Ordino in against the Ordino, might as well just try and patch up my team a little bit because we're not doing anything to each other. Yeah, he goes for the Toxic on my Vileplume, that's nice, whatever. Celesteela comes in on the Vileplume. Is this the turn? Wait, there's a huge turn here. Yes, this is the turn. Let me just go back a sec. So, every single time so far in this battle that my opponent's had the Celesteela out, I've switched out into the Ninetales because, like I've said before, the only thing it can do to me is Flamethrower. It does 18%, that's a safe switch for the Ninetales. I think the reason that I didn't switch in Ninetales is because look, you can see there I've got 4 Fire Blasts and I've got 6 Weather Balls. I'm really, really conscious about PP. So even though I've been trying to manufacture situations in which I can bring in the Ninetales on the Celesteela, this turn I decide not to. I decide to just, conserve PP, skip out the middleman, go straight into the Mega Ordino. It can deal with the Celesteela quite well, especially when the Leech Seed is up. I can't do anything back to it, but it can't do anything to me, and it will get chip damage taken off from the Leech Seed. So it's a relatively safe matchup. Yeah, so I go into the Mega Ordino. I'm bringing all of that context in because look at this. He goes for the Earthquake. He's had the answer on Celesteela. He's had that this entire time. He's had the answer for the Ninetales on the Celesteela. I switched in Ninetales like 3 or 4 times in on the Celesteela now, and he's never once hit the Earthquake. And you can understand why, because if I was to stay in with the Ninetales, if I was to stay in with the Vileplume, Earthquake would be a wasted turn. I kind of feel bad for my opponent. The one time I don't bring in the Ninetales, he goes for the Earthquake because he had a chance to take out the Ninetales there. Saying that though, this Celesteela, this changes my entire thought pattern. Like I said, I feel quite safe bringing in Ninetales on the Celesteela. It puts offensive pressure on my opponent, and I can deal with it that way. The moment he reveals Earthquake, it changes the entire dynamic of this match because I suddenly go from, yes, I'm in a winning position, I'm in control. I go from that, suddenly, like, I chuck all the notes out the window. Earthquake on Celesteela changed the entire dynamic of this battle. Yeah, I feel for my opponent that he didn't use it earlier, and it's unfortunate that the one time he does use it, I'm not bringing it in the Ninetales. But yeah, this changed the battle. This turn did. Anyway, yeah, just really wanted to highlight that because that was a huge shifting point in this battle. Anyway, Ordino up against Mega Ordino, we both just wish and whatever, it's fine. If Paltoad comes in because I really want to Toxic the Ordino. Obviously, he goes for the Celesteela. I think I actually predicted the Celesteela switch, knowing that my opponent would predict the Toxic, so obviously Heliolisk in on the Celesteela is quite nice. Go for the Volt Switch again. Probably should have gone for the Thunderbolt. Actually, no, of course not, because obviously he's revealed the Earthquake there, so I go for the Volt Switch. Because, yeah, not only can... Like, my Celesteela is weak to both of my offensive threats, but the Earthquake deals with both of those offensive threats. So now suddenly I can't just stay in and Thunderbolt with the Heliolisk. I've got to go for the Volt Switch. Like, that Earthquake changes everything, man. But yeah, bit of nice switchy. He goes for the block here, and I'm like, right. I've said before that Vileplume deals with Celesteela one-on-one, kind of. But, I mean, my opponent can storm me out of Synthesis, and I think my opponent can beat out my Vileplume here. I don't know why he blocked it and didn't take advantage of that. Anyway, we get the Leech Seed off on the Ordino. Get Slowpoke off, obviously, like I said before, trying to go for... just some kind of poison, if not toxic. What do I go for here? I go for another Leech Seed. I think I've probably predicted the switch there. Yeah, because obviously he's going for the Wish. He's obviously going to Wish Pass into something. Yeah, Leech Seed on Leech Seed. That's fine, I guess. Now he brings in the Urshifu. I'm not fussed about the Urshifu. I think that's just a straight switch into the Vileplume. Yes, it is. He can go for a sub if he wants. I can just Giga Drain. He's going to Ice Punch. That's fine. Like I've said before, this Urshifu just does not trouble me. Yeah, it brings out the Celesteela as I go for the Leech Seed. So long as this thing's Leech Seeded, I'm okay sort of bringing anything in on it. I go for the Heliolisk here, which might seem really ballsy. There's layers of mind games at this point. Because obviously I've been bringing Ninetales in on Celesteela every time. My opponent knows that now that he's revealed the Earthquake, I'm going to be a lot less likely to bring in the Ninetales, so he's going to be a lot less likely to go for the Earthquake. So I knew that Ninetales was going to be a relatively safe switch in here. However, I didn't feel 100% comfortable taking that risk. Heliolisk is kind of the middle ground because it does allow me to get an offensive threat in relatively for free. But at the same time, like Heliolisk is less essential than Ninetales. So if I'm going to go for that risky, ballsy offensive switch, it's safer to do it on the less essential Heliolisk than it is to do it on the more essential Ninetales, if any of that makes sense. It's layers of mind games. He goes for Leech Seed, so it gives me a safe. Is it a Volt Switch or a Thunderbolt here? Thunderbolt, yeah. I think what I'd done actually is I'd calced that, because I'd done calcs and I'd calced the Thunderbolt damage on the Ordino. I think I'd done it with the Sun still up on my calcs, so I thought that Thunderbolt was going to be doing way more. But yeah, go for the Volt Switch. Might as well get a bit of switch initiative. Going into the Ninetales, I'm not predicting my opponent to go for the knockoff when he can get his wish up. Yeah, go for the Fire Blast on the Protect. At this point, if we look at my opponent's moves there, Protector's only got 4 PP left. My opponent's Ordino is essentially the win con for my opponent. Because Ninetales is my win con, and the Ordino beats out the Ninetales not only with Regenerator but also with Protect PP Stall. So, what I need to do at this point is manufacture the game so that my opponent has to go for Protect. Obviously, the moment my opponent uses Wish, it also baits out the Protect. So, all I need to do is get my opponent to use Protect. The moment he runs out of Protect PP, Ninetales can win. So that is my new objective. Is not so much to manufacture situations in which Ninetales is in on Celesteela, but it's more to manufacture situations in which I can pressure my opponent to go for Protect while not going for Weather Balls myself. Fire Blast is kind of there as a luxury move. Weather Ball is much more reliable and it's much more useful in the battle. So I'm not going for Weather Balls on the Ordino, because if my opponent's Ordino goes for the Protect, it'll wear down Weather Ball PP, which I need. So I might as well go for the Fire Blast. It still puts the offensive pressure on my opponent, but I'd much rather lose Fire Blast PP than Weather Ball PP, if that makes sense. So, yeah, on that, I do switch out because PP. It gives me a safe wish, I believe, here, which I do go for. Do I just go straight out into the Vileplume here? I think, potentially. No, actually, I protected. I tried to get myself back up to full HP. Now, this Salamence it was obviously the one thing that my opponent hasn't brought out the entire battle, apart from maybe the first turn when he switched it out straight away. Yeah, this thing's Dragon Dance, which is kind of terrifying. I think when I'm going through my calcs, even if this thing's got Iron Tail's doing like 70% at +1, and my Dazzling Gleam is a 2-hit KO. So he takes 1 turn to get up to +1. I Dazzling Gleam. Basically, the Salamence can't beat me at this stage 1-on-1. So I go for the Dazzling Gleam. It's a 2-hit KO. So yeah, his Iron Tail would have been doing about 70%, but obviously my Dazzling Gleam KO'd him. So yeah, Salamence. I can deal with Salamence so long as Mega Ordino is at full health. Vileplume can kind of deal with it, but I'd rather not. Vileplume I need to keep around because it deals with the Urshifu. Mega Ordino obviously is a really nice Wish Passer anyway, but it's mainly there now to deal with the Dragon Dancing Salamence, which speed ties my Ninetales, beats out my Heliolisk. Oh, sorry, this is a lot of talking. I knew this was going to be a long post-com, even when I'm like skipping out turns and everything. Yeah, he Toxics, I Heal Bell. This is kind of I kind of regret putting those 4 EVs in the Mega Ordino now. I did it so I could beat out the Ordino 1-on-1, but if I'm heal belling before he's going for his toxics, it kind of hinders me that I outspeed it every single turn. This is just a bit of PP stall, really. Just a lot of nothing moves. If I can get him to go for protect, then I'm absolutely fine. If I can even like PP stall the wishes, that's absolutely fine. He's going for knockoff, so I can't bring in the Ninetales safely. I just get off a Leech Seed. There's a lot of fluff in this battle. I think this point in the battle in particular, there's just a lot of not much happening. It's a lot of switching between walls, and yeah, not much happening at all. This was another turn in which I did go for the ballsy play, bringing in the Ninetales on the Celesteela. My thinking is he's not going for Earthquake on the Hippowdon, especially when he's got the block, because he knows that if he blocks my Hippowdon, he can just beat me. Because I've got Toxic, I've got Earthquake, even if I've got like a Stone Edge or something, like I absolutely cannot beat out that Celesteela. So I think I predicted the block there. Yeah, like he could predict the Ninetales and go for the Earthquake, but there's not a chance he's going for the Earthquake when Hippowdon's right there, when he's got a chance to block it. So, yeah, safe turn there. He goes out into the Urshifu here. Got the crit there. I don't think that crit mattered. I said it for the last one. I don't think that this one mattered either. That Fire Blast was doing about 60 or 70% to the Urshifu. It was a 2-hit KO on the Urshifu, or he brings out the Mega Ordno. It takes like 50% damage. Like, this crit was more key than the last one, I will admit. But I don't think it swung the battle too much in my favour. Yeah, anyway, Ordino comes out, and yeah, obviously Fire Blast is running low on PP, so we might as well go out into the Heliolisk. Is he going to go for the Protect? Yes, he does. So now he's down to 3 Protects. Yeah. Again, it's just all about stalling out those Protect PPs at this point. He goes for the Wish to bring out these Salamence. I think, do I go for the Leech Seed here, which is kind of nice, but again, Salamence, very, very concerning. Bring out the Mega Ordno, do we, straight away? No, bring out the Hippowdon, actually. Yeah, Hippowdon deals with it quite well as well. If we can get a Toxic off on the Salamence, that'd be quite nice. Also, the Whirlwind, if it sets up. Like, yeah, Hippowdon also deals with Salamence quite well. He goes for a Leech Seed on my Skarmory, that's fine. I think he blocks me at this point. No, he doesn't. He goes for Flamethrower. I kind of go for a Dual Peck. I don't really know why. I think... Wait, was I blocked at this point? Sorry, I'm forgetting turns. I'm just going to skip back a little bit. No, I wasn't blocked. Sorry, I wasn't blocked in, of course. I just wanted to get a safe switch into the Ninetales. And I didn't really feel comfortable switching in. Like, Ninetales has worn out its use. It's not really doing too much for me in the battle. So I just sort of sack this thing off so I can get a free switch. He goes for the Earthquake, predicting the Roost. That's kind of nice to wear out an Earthquake PP just a little bit. Yeah, Salamence comes in. It was probably a little bit of a bad play for me to sack off the Skarmory like that in terms of differential in the league, but Skarmory, like I said, is doing nothing for me in that battle, so to guarantee the win, not to guarantee the win, but to put the win, what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is, I'm not thinking about differential, I'm not thinking about the league standings, I'm not thinking about any of that, I'm more just thinking about I need to get this battle won. What's the most effective way to win the battle at this point is to get a safe switch into the Ninetales. If I have to sack off the Skarmory, I do. Weather Ball is a 2-hit KO on the Salamence, but the Ninetales is EV'd to Speed Tie the Salamence. Obviously, they're both base 100 speed, so I don't feel comfortable risking this this Speed Tie, so I just go straight into the Mega Ordino. He goes out into his own Ordino. Yeah, it's fine, whatever. A lot more fluff here, where we just press moves against each other. Like, yeah, Mega Ordino is always a really boring matchup. We do go for the Ninetales, though, because he's not going to go for the knockoff. Got a nice Wish pass into the Ninetales as well. When I'm at 100% HP, I can live an Earthquake from the Celesteela. I think it's doing like 60 or 70% damage to me. So now that I'm at 100% HP, I do feel a lot more comfortable with the Ninetales being a switch into the Celesteela. My God, there's a lot of talking. I really should have got like a glass of water or something. There's just so much fluff in this battle. It's a really good battle. I really, really enjoyed this battle, but the downtimes where it's wall against wall, where it's Ordino against Mega Ordino, stuff like that, they are really, really slow. Um, my opponent's got used up 4 earthquakes. I am also kind of thinking, yeah, if I can wear out my opponent's earthquakes, that's kind of nice. He blocks the Vile Plume, which again, that's his chance to take out my Vile Plume. I don't understand why he switches out. But yeah, bring out the Hippowdon. And yeah, I think does he go? Yeah, sorry, he brought in the Salamence on the Wish. Sorry, I'm really losing the will here. It's a long old battle. We know we can deal with the Dragon Dance quite well with the Peter Rabbit, so we just go for the Dazzling Gleam. Celesteela comes in. Bring out the Ninetales because we know that even if he goes for the Earthquake, we can live it. He goes for the Leech Seed. Go for, is it a Fire Blast or a Weather Ball here? No, it's not. It's neither because, again, I'm thinking about PP. My opponent here does say that he doesn't think he can win this and he's got no impact on making playoffs, but he really wants to kill at least one more Pokemon. I kind of agree with him that I don't think he could win at this point, but at the same time, I felt like I couldn't win at this point. It's a really weird one where the stall and the PP stall became so much that I began to doubt whether I could win it myself. Obviously, I was massively in the driver's seat earlier in the battle, but there was a couple turns here where I could have gone for a more offensive play, but I decided to switch out into a wall, go more passive, and that gave my opponent more time to sort of dampen my momentum. So yeah, at this point, I think I was in control for most of the battle, but at this point, I do lose control a lot. Like I said before, the moment my opponent runs out of Protect PPs, I'm straight back on it. But at the moment, Ninetales is my win con, and it's running low on PP. The moment I run out of PP with Ninetales, my opponent probably can beat me out. It's why I love regenerator Pokemon generally, is that when it comes to a PP stall towards the end of a battle, a regenerator Pokemon will win it. And yeah, he's still got the Salamence in the back, even though Mega Ordino deals with it quite well. That's only when it's at full HP. So yeah, I agree with my opponent when he says that he doesn't think he can win this at this point. However, it's absolutely not a dead cert. Yeah, the moment my Ninetales runs out of PP, my opponent does get the upper hand, I think. Anyway, yeah. Celesteela comes in, go for the Toxic, yeah, it's whatever. I think, do I bring out the Mega Ordino? No, I don't. He goes for the block, I go for the Whirlwind, because my opponent's no longer, because the Celesteela's no longer on the field, I'm not blocked anymore. Yeah, it's really difficult just talking and talking over this. This was a big turn here. I go for the Protect, sort of predicting the block, but it wasn't until now that this turn, it wasn't until this point in time here that I realised, oh, block goes through Protect. So that was a really, really dumb turn of mine. I had no idea that block went through Protect. Yeah, so Peter Rabbit absolutely cannot beat out the Celesteela, and at this point I was kind of tempted, like you can see here, I went for a Wish, I went for a Protect. I was tempted to try and PP stall my opponent. Obviously Mega Ordino loses here, but if I can get rid of like half my opponent's PP in the process, that's going to benefit me. However, I think, yeah, at this point, I can't get, if say my opponent had 2 earthquakes left and 3 flamethrowers left, then I absolutely would go for the PP stall because it's really important to get those things out of PP. However, my opponent's still got loads of PP left on his moves. It's not worth going for the PP stall. It would be effective if he had less PP on his moves. It's not going to be effective if I can cut the flamethrower down from like 15 PP to 10 PP. That's not going to benefit me in the long run. It's just going to annoy my opponent. It's bad sportsmanship, so I'm not going to go for the PP stall here, which I could do. So yeah, I just constantly hit Dazzling Gleam. It's going to do nothing to the Celesteela. I think the leftovers actually counteract the Dazzling Gleam, especially with the Lead Seed recovery as well. Yeah, even my opponent there is just like, yeah, he didn't realise the block went through Protect. So yeah, like I say, I could be going, I went for Protect there, I probably shouldn't have done that. I think it's probably at this point, yeah, I did a Wish Protect there. It's at this point that I realised, wait, no, don't need to PP stall. So I just hit Dazzling Gleam loads of times. It's kind of sad to see Peter Rabbit go down in such a manner. But yeah, just keep hitting Dazzling Gleam. Just keep hitting Dazzling Gleam. There's no point going for the PP stall. Yeah, I think I got a crit there at some point. Obviously not key at all. Not on a Dazzling Gleam on a Soul Stealer. So Peter Rabbit is down. This is kind of concerning now because, yeah, like, Hippowdon does deal with the Salamence, but not too well. Not as well as the Mega Ordino did. So at this point, yeah, I think, I mean, momentum's in neither of our favours, but it kind of swings a little bit in my opponent's favour there. The block going through the protect really, it doesn't hand the win to my opponent, nothing like that. But if Ninetales runs out of PP on his moves, then I think that my opponent can win with the Salamence and just stalling out with Ordino, if that makes any kind of sense. Sorry, I'm rambling a lot. What I'm saying is, at this point, I'm kind of concerned. Opponent goes for the Mega Ordino. I think a switch out here, predicting the Protect. He does go for the Protect. If we look at the thing here, though, he's only got 2 left. Like I said earlier, my game plan at the moment, and it has been for the last 50 turns or however many turns it's been, my game plan is just to stall out those Protects. The moment he runs out of Protects, Ninetales wins. The moment Ninetales runs out of PP, Salamence wins. So, yeah, he goes for the Protect on the Weather Ball there. Absolutely key. He's only got 1 Protect left. Oh wait, did he just use it? He just used his last Protect. That was when he used it. So at this point, I'm now thinking the win. It's sort of like the check before the checkmate, right? And yeah, I think my opponent sort of sees that, so he does stay in with the Ordino. We've got Salamence against the Ninetales here. Like I've said before, it is a speed tie. However, Ninetales is a lot less key now because the Ordino's down. There's less of a need to punch a hole in my opponent's team. That Fire Blast miss was kind of important, but I mean, he goes to the Dragon Dance, I bring out the Hippowdon. Like I've said before, Hippowdon does beat out the Salamence, although not as effectively as the Ordino. It still does kind of beat it out. I think, do I go for a Toxic here? No, I'll go for the Whirlwind. Yeah, it's just nice to be able to Whirlwind and Whirlwind and Whirlwind. So now I'll go for the Toxic there. Yeah, at this point in the game, I have kind of won. Like I say, he brings out I said earlier, the Earthquake only does 70%, so when Ninetales is at HP, it lives that Earthquake. Goes for the Weather Ball there. Salamence comes in. I think he goes for the Dragon Dance here. What he should have done, I believe, is he should have just... Because obviously it was a speed tie on the Weather Ball versus Dragon Dance. So if it's a speed tie, he's got to play as if he's going to win the speed tie. If he won the speed tie, he should have gone for an offensive move to take out my Ninetales. Because if I if I win the speed tie, I win the battle. So at that point, I've won the battle anyway. He should have gone for the damage on the Ninetales. Because if he did outspeed me, then he'd be at better HP to deal with the Hippowdon. But either way, yeah, +1 is doing nothing to me. I think I go for the Toxic here because Earthquake obviously does nothing. It's the only way that I can get damage off on this thing. And yeah, I think, do I just slack off for the win? Sorry that my commentary wasn't great in that battle. Like I say, it was a couple of weeks ago when I did this battle. But I hope you got the general gist of the battle, which is, like, it's a really intense battle. It's really fun to play. Yeah, we've won. And not only have we won, we've also, with that win, we've qualified for playoffs. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you for week 12 against top of the league Manchutel City. Like I say, it's another battle I've already played, so it's going to be another post-con nightmare, but yeah, we're done.